The Cardinals have been linked to top prospect Bruce Branch III, but just how serious of an option is Louisville in this recruitment?
You are Locked On Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Card Nation, what's going on, everyone? Welcome into this Tuesday edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Pence. This is my 6th year covering U of L, 4th year hosting this show. Of course, Locked On Louisville, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network in the world. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if that bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today to get started. A lot of stuff to discuss on today's show. We have to dive into some football injury updates, and I'll just say when it rains, it pours. Not good at all. We'll break it down at the conclusion of the show. The men's basketball team demolished Eastern Michigan on Monday evening. My MVP of the game might shock you a little bit. I'll identify who it is coming up shortly, but we're going to begin today's show with some men's basketball recruiting talk. The Cardinals have been linked to Bruce Branch III by multiple people and multiple publications. But just how serious of an option is Louisville in this recruitment? We're going to spend this segment explaining what I believe. Now, before we get to that, we have to tell you who Bruce Branch III is. He was the #1 prospect in the 2027 class. So incoming junior class, the 2027 class. He reclassified recently to the 2026 class just a couple days ago. Now, according to multiple national recruiting analysts, this decision did not come as a shock. In fact, it was potentially being rumored as early as this past summer. Now, Branch, according to the 24/7 Sports Composite, is now the 6th best prospect in the 2026 class. He's number 8 on 247sports.com. 6'7", small forward. He's from Arizona, but will play at Prolific Prep. Now, Prolific Prep moved from Napa, California to now Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So West Coast to East Coast. And the Cardinals offered him back in May. So they know who Bruce Branch III is. He's one of the best prospects in the country. When the news dropped that he was going to be reclassifying, some schools were mentioned and linked to Branch. And Louisville was one of those schools. Travis Branham of 24/7 Sports came out with a list of schools that you should monitor in an article, and he listed Arizona, BYU, USC, Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, Indiana, and Louisville. To go a step further, Louisville On 3's Will McDermott published an article, paraphrasing here, stating that the Cardinals would be in pursuit of top 2026 prospect Bruce Branch III. So it's clear that at the very least, the interest is exploratory. Could it be something like, hey, we're interested in bringing you here to Louisville. What's the NIL number that you're looking at? Oh, okay, cool. Maybe this isn't the best fit from a financial standpoint. I guess that could be the baseline. And that could be like the floor here, is that maybe it's an exploratory conversation. But with them being mentioned multiple times, I'm not sure if that's the level of interest. Like, I think that there is going to be some concrete interest for the Cardinals to go after Branch. Now, it is worth noting something that might work to the Cardinals' advantage. Bruce Branch III is an Adidas athlete. He plays on the 3SSB AAU circuit. I believe he has some type of deal with Adidas. Like, if you look up Bruce Branch III Adidas, he's on their website. So he is an Adidas athlete to an extent, to my understanding. But will that be a deciding factor? I'm not sure. Look at some of the schools that have been named: Arizona, BYU, USC, Duke, Kansas, Kentucky, Indiana, Louisville. Kind of split, right? But Kentucky, Indiana, Louisville, some of the top Adidas schools are on there. Now, it is worth noting he is from Arizona. Arizona is apparently a school to look at, and he is high school teammates with Koa Pete. So there is some concerns that he might stay out west. He is from the West Coast. West Coast recruits tend to stay out west more often than not, it would seem. But anyway, how likely is it that Louisville is an option here, a serious option? I think, let me start out here. I do believe that with how good Louisville is this year, they're a top 6 team. They have had an incredible offensive start to the season. They are a fun team to watch. The national media is hyping them up more and more. And you're also seeing Michael Brown Jr. show out. To go a step further, I would argue that the roster construction around Michael Brown Jr. is even more impressive because it's showing top recruits that, hey, you can come here and do your thing. You can show out, and we'll give you the opportunity to do so. But we're going to surround you with talent to the point to where you don't have to be Superman just to try to win a game. Like, you can win games and still showcase your talents here. So I think from like a attraction standpoint to certain schools, Louisville does seem like they're going to be in the mix for top prospects because, hey, I mean, why wouldn't they be? One of the blue blood level programs, fun offense to play in, good coach, and a ton of success. Now, here's the thing. It's going to come down to this. And I think it's going to start and end here. Is Louisville willing to go out and win a bidding war? It's a very simple question. And if the answer is yes, then I think the amount of legitimacy that Louisville gains in this recruitment skyrockets. But if you're not willing to at least get very close to that top offer in the bidding war, I'm just not so sure, because you've seen it this cycle. Louisville has missed out on every high school recruiting target that they've gone after. Now, some have been, they just don't want to win the bidding war. Tyron Stokes, Taylon Kinney, the list goes on. But stands to reason with this specific recruitment, you have to imagine with schools like Arizona, BYU, Duke, USC, Kentucky, Kansas, Indiana, Illinois, Louisville, you're going to have to spend some money. You're going to have to, I understand that you have usually your valuations on players and you don't like to go further than that. And maybe it's a situation where Louisville is willing to pay a good amount of money for a player, but it has to be the right player. Is Bruce Branch III that right player? I'm not sure. 6'7", 190 pounds, that shoots the ball really well. Defensive upside is huge. 6'7" with a 7'1" wingspan. Maybe not a primary creator right now, but the potential is there. I think he fits everything you're looking for a lead wing in the Pat Kelsey system. But there's a difference between being a good fit and a guy that like you build your team around. And you look who's leaving after this year: Michael Brown Jr., Isaac McKneely, Ryan Conwell, Javon Hadley, and others. Like, is this the guy that you want to go out and spend the money for? Because I don't think people realize, from what I've been told, and maybe this isn't true, but from what I've been told by multiple people, the money that it took to get Michael Brown Jr. here wasn't as much as guys in this recruiting cycle. Like, you are kind of a victim of the market at this moment. And the market is extremely inflated. The numbers that are being thrown out there for these top 25 prospects, they keep rising. So it kind of comes down to this. Like, you have a bunch of things that make sense. You have a need for a top prospect. Most of the other ones are committed or soon to be committed. So maybe you have more of a budget, right? Like, maybe you have more open money to give to Bruce Branch. Maybe the Adidas thing makes a lot of sense to where, hey, Taylon Kinney's going to Kansas. Maybe it's time for Louisville to get their blue chip prospect in this class. But top 10 prospect, who was the number 1 prospect in 2027, you best believe that with some of these schools on the list, if you don't step up to the plate and at least get close to that top offer, I mean, at this point, don't waste your time. That's kind of where I'm at. Now, of course, I'm on the outside looking in, but I think there's a reason why Louisville recruited all these top 5 stars and none of them committed. Like, yes, they have London Johnson, but he's from the G League. So kind of comes down to this. If Louisville seriously wants to get involved with this Bruce Branch III recruitment, they have to be willing to go past their valuation, unless their valuation is already sky high and they're like, hey, we can meet this number. Or maybe Branch is a player that values fit just as much as he does the NIL package, and maybe he does leave some money on the table in exchange for a better fit. I'm not sure. It's extremely early. One good thing that's going to help Louisville is that this decision probably doesn't come soon. It's probably one that, it seems like he's going to take his time, according to some analysts out there. So it could be late in the winter, in the spring. And at that point, he has an opportunity to continue to watch Louisville play. And I would imagine that they're going to continue to be very good. So it's going to help the Cardinals' chances. And with other top prospects committing, maybe that helps from a budget standpoint. But if he is the top player in the spring, you saw it with Nate Ament. You have Duke. Tennessee came in at the last minute. It's truthfully going to come down to, if you want to play ball in this arena, you have to be willing to spend the big money. And I think that's what it's going to come down to. So how serious is Louisville right now in this recruitment? TBD. Still very, very early. But speaking of the basketball team, Louisville is now 6-0 after defeating Eastern Michigan. Defeating might not be the word. Demolishing Eastern Michigan at the KFC Yum Center, 87-46. My MVP of the game might surprise you a little bit. Tell you who that is. Don't go anywhere. You're tuned into Locked On Louisville, covering your team every day. The NBA is back. There's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you could even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at an even larger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. For me, I have been riding heavy with my Houston Rockets. Alperen Şengün has been money. Kevin Durant has been great. So join me on FanDuel.com and sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, the show is free and available on all streaming services, including YouTube and TikTok. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Leave us a comment in the YouTube section below. Both are great ways to help the show continue to grow. And also, thank you to the everydayers out there, part of the Everydayer Club. If this is your first time tuning in, we're glad that you are here as well. But you all have played a key part in making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network on planet Earth. Thank you all so very much. But let's continue the basketball conversation. The Cardinals 5-0 heading into Monday night's game against Eastern Michigan, where they were a 33.5-point favorite, and Louisville won the game 87-46. They covered the spread and won the game by 41 points. Now, it wasn't a great first half. They were leading 33-17. The shots really weren't falling. It was a physical game. Couple players got beat up. They got bruised. Ryan Conwell took a shot to like the face/head/neck region, and he went back to the locker room a couple times. He did finish the game, so I would imagine it's not anything serious. I think Michael slipped at one point. There was somebody else, if I'm not mistaken. But this was just a very physical game, like Eastern Michigan, very physical team. I still think it was kind of wild watching players. Like, this isn't even like a specific argument, but like a general statement. If you're losing by close to 40 points, talking that much trash, like, credit to you. Staying consistent, because, I mean, this was getting a little chirpy in the second half, and Louisville's guys were kind of like, hey, man, we're winning by almost 40 points in this game. But they opened things up in the second half. They outscored the Eagles 54-29, and not really much to take away other than you covered the spread against a team that's not the greatest. Now, I think Pat Kelsey made a pretty interesting point that he's 100% correct on. This was I think after the Ohio game. He said that playing these types of mid-major teams, you almost just have to blow them out. You have to cover the spread because if not, it hurts you in the net ranking. And he's got a point. And I like that Louisville was able to cover the spread against a team that didn't really have much success shooting the ball. But Louisville overall, even though it was kind of a rough start, 48% from the field, 42% from three on 14 makes. But the free throws, got to get better. 68%, 13 of 19. They just got to get better from the charity stripe as they get closer and closer to conference play. Let's hand out our 3 stars of the game. If you are an everydayer of the show, you know what this is, but I will keep making this point as we go through the early part of the basketball season. 3 stars is basically the hockey recognition, if you know what that is. Like 1 star is the MVP, 2 and 3 in line with the best players of the game. The MVP of the game for me, and it wasn't a perfect performance from anyone, but he played 19 minutes, scored 11 points, 3 of 4 from the 3-point line. He had 3 blocks, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and only 1 turnover. That is the Cardinals' big man, Aly Khalifa. Khalifa did not play well against Cincinnati. We know that. But I thought he bounced back very well. Offensively, the team struggled out of the gate, and then they inserted Khalifa onto the court, and he had a couple of quick, good reads, some backdoor cuts that led to 2 wide open layups, and just affected the game in multiple ways. Caught fire in the second half, 3 3-pointers, had 5 assists, 6 rebounds, blocked a couple of shots. I was really impressed with Khalifa's minutes, and he played against a rather tall team, thought he understood the assignment and didn't make many mistakes. So Aly Khalifa was my MVP, my 1 star of the game. My number 2 star was Isaac McKneely, and he has kind of had an up and down start to the season. Even when he's not shooting the ball well or scoring a ton of points, he is making his impact in different ways. He had 17 points. He led the Cardinals in scoring, 6 of 10 from the field, 5 and 9 from 3. He also pitched in 3 rebounds and a block. The shooting here, when Louisville needed some offense, Michael really wasn't finding his shot. Ryan Conwell had gotten injured in the first half. Conwell, I don't think, scored a point until the second half, but McKneely was the one that picked up the slack, and thus highlighting once again why defending against Louisville is such a disadvantage to teams, because if Michael and Conwell aren't scoring, well, now you got Isaac McKneely popping off for 17 points. It's just such a luxury to have if you're the Cardinals. So McKneely is the 2nd star. And then the 3rd star played 17 minutes, 8 points, 3 of 3 from the field, 2 of 3 from the free throw line. He had 4 assists, 2 rebounds, and a block. You know, you all know that I like to gauge what my eyes see and not so much box score chase. I thought Kobe Rogers was great. I thought his minutes were high energy, high effort, great defensively, had a couple of drives to the basket where had some pretty shifty moves, hit a guy with a Euro step to finish around the basket, and it was just a really good performance from the reserve guard. You all know I have been a huge fan of the Kobe Rogers minutes, so he gets the 3rd star in this game for me. Couple other things that I will mention that kind of caught my eye in this game, because it's really hard to have huge takeaways when you win by 41 points. I'm not going to critique much. Yeah, might have been sloppy in the first half, but the team picked it up and did just fine. 18-8 assist to turnover ratio. So they kept the turnovers in the single digits, which was nice. And they had 18 assists. And compare that to Eastern Michigan, who had 5 assists and 13 turnovers. This was a team coming into Monday night that didn't really score the ball all that much. They were in the 200s in scoring offense. They didn't get many assists leading up to this game. and Louisville's defense. I was impressed with Louisville's defense. There was a couple times where, some open shots, but Louisville communicated really well. They switched on screens well. You remember that point that I made about not wanting the big man to hedge the ball handler too much to where they get taken out of the play? Didn't really do that much at all on Monday. So that was nice to see. And the second thing is that Louisville was out rebounded in the first half, and they ended winning the rebounding margin 45-36. So the second half adjustments were made, even though they were blowing a team out, almost winning by 20 points going into halftime. It's like, hey, look, we still need to play better. Louisville played significantly better in the second half. They will have another quick turnaround, and they will host NJIT on Wednesday night at 9 o'clock back at the KFC Hum Center. We will have that preview for you on tomorrow's episode of the show. But we're going to end today's show, unfortunately, on a not so positive note. We got some injury updates for the football team ahead of the Governor's Cup this weekend. And, man, when it rains, it pours. And we'll tell you what we found out when we come back. Don't go anywhere. You're tuned into Locked On Louisville, covering your team every day. Cardation, just a reminder, but you all don't need me to remind you that Thanksgiving's on Thursday, but I will remind you that there's likely only going to be 4 episodes this week. So we had one yesterday, got one today, we'll have one tomorrow. We will pause for the Thanksgiving holiday, and then Friday will be Governor's Cup preview and prep ahead of the Saturday matchup at noon at Cardinals Stadium. But let's talk about the injuries, because in Jeff Brom's weekly press conference, he gave some updates on the availability of multiple players. Got the hiccups for whatever reason. Gave the updates on availability of multiple players, and it gets worse. Again, I keep repeating it. When it rains, it pours. And the Cardinals have been banged up the second half of the season. Really, they've suffered some serious injuries all year long. Like Stanquan Clark got hurt second game of the year. Duke Watson has basically not been healthy all year. He's fought through it, but he hasn't been 100% all season. You have Isaac Brown go out against Virginia Tech. He's missed the last couple of games. Miller Moss had a freak injury in the weight room. Kewan Brown got hurt. Duke Watson got hurt again. Colin Lacey got hurt. Chris Bell got hurt. Antonio Watts missed last game. It's just a long list of guys that are either questionable and not at full capacity, or not playing to full capacity, or just completely out. And goes without saying that Louisville is hobbling into the regular season finale. Well, we got some bad news. Chris Bell is going to be out for the Governor's Cup. And I will say this, regardless of all these injuries, I've been told by multiple people in the know that these are actual injuries. Like, I've seen it out there on social media. People have asked me directly, are these opt-outs? And can you, they're not, but I almost can't blame people for asking, because it's become pretty evident through the past couple of years that players will opt out, and sometimes it's with the disguise of injury. But I will tell you, that's not the case here at all. In fact, that's really not how Jeff Brom likes to operate. These aren't injuries. I'm sorry, these are injuries. Let me clarify. These are injuries. Chris Bell, you saw when he got hurt against SMU. He could barely walk off on his own power. He's going to be out. That is a huge, huge loss for this Cardinals offense. Colin Lacey got banged up. Will he play on Saturday? TBD. The running backs room, depleted. Absolutely depleted. Eric Crawford mentioned in a tweet that although it hasn't been reported officially on the injury report, it's likely that Isaac Brown, Kewan Brown, and Duke Watson will all miss Saturday's game. Those are your top 3 running backs. Who do you have left? Because if your answer is to go to Colin Lacey, well, he's banged up. At that point, you've got Sean Boykins, the redshirt freshman wide receiver that transitioned into a running back in fall camp. That's one option. You're not going to have John Maurice Wilder, your true freshman running back. So it's Sean Boykins and true freshman walk-on Braxton Jennings. And Braxton got hurt in the game on Saturday. So you basically, you don't have a running game. Your rushing attack has been what you have leaned on for good offense. And now you don't have a rushing attack. Okay, well, now you're going to have to rely on the passing game. Miller Moss is questionable for Saturday. Who's going to be the quarterback? Brom highlighted the notion that they're probably going to use multiple quarterbacks again, okay? So you don't know who your quarterbacks are. Your offensive line play is not the greatest. You are missing your top 3 running backs. You really don't have any running backs outside of a couple players. And, oh, by the way, your number 1 receiver, Chris Bell, he's out. And your number 2 receiver, Colin Lacey, he's banged up. I mean, talk about a skeleton crew that Louisville has to operate with on offense. And look, I mean, it is what it is. You're already skidding before that. Like the free fall, I think injuries contributed to it, but injuries aren't why you lost the game against Virginia. You should have beat California. You should have beat Clemson. I think SMU's like the first game where you kind of look at the injury bug and say, man, this really played a huge factor in this. But you go against Kentucky, and I know Kentucky's dealing with injuries as well. But this Louisville offense, I mean, I can't remember a time. Like I'm going back in my memory bank. I first became a Louisville football fan in 2004. I was 6 years old. That is right when I could understand football. I cannot remember a time in the past 20 plus years where a Louisville offense has been this banged up. I can't. It's absolutely demoralizing. It's devastating because of how much promise that this unit had going into the season. I know that you can't help injuries, but man, it would be nice to get some type of like unexpected good news, like one of the 3 running backs, Duke, Isaac, or Kewan, if one of those guys could go on Saturday, because Kentucky has a defense that has the potential to make your life miserable, especially in the trenches. The Cardinals defense, not as banged up. They did not have Antonio Watts last game, and it hurt. You could tell, one of your leaders in the linebacker room. They had a couple guys, I believe, get banged up against SMU. I'm interested to see what that injury report looks like on Thursday and see if Watts is going to be back, if the Cardinals are going to have any other unexpected injuries pop up. But guys, this is bad. This is very bad. The Cardinals are limping to the end of the season. They're doing what they can. They're doing what they can to just make ends meet here. I've never seen this offense as hurt as it is. Your quarterback's hurt. Your top 3 running backs are hurt. Your wide receiver 1 is hurt. Your wide receiver 2 is hurt. I don't know, man. I mean, I just looked at my phone on Monday when I saw those updates, and I just shook my head and said, my goodness. And I hope all these guys have quick and full recoveries. But it's just, like I said, repeated it over and over this episode. When it rains, it pours, truthfully. When we come back tomorrow, we're going to preview the upcoming matchup against NJIT. We'll have some other talk. There will be a weekly mailbag segment, so get your questions in the YouTube comments below. But that's going to wrap up this Tuesday edition of the show. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Go Cards.